folks. We're doing another one. Yeah, brought to you by Special Drink. Appreciate all y'all for tuning in to all of these. I don't know if there's been one person who's watched or listened to every single one. I know at one point there was. But to all of you who are listening to this or watching the Instagram posts or whatever, watching this on YouTube, watching the shorts, the TikToks, we're on all the social medias now. Thank you so much. Channel's starting to grow a little bit, so that's cool. Really appreciate it. And we're finding our groove. We're getting these solo episodes out. I'm just kind of figuring out a little bit more what I want to do with these. As I figure out my life more, stuff tends to get a little bit more targeted. So, as you may have seen, because I did 2 episodes ago, about my hybrid training program, I told you that I'm selling one, and I went over some of the backstory behind it, what happens in it, and why it's cool, and in this one, and why you should buy it. But in this one, I thought it'd be cool if we delved into a little bit more of the training side of things, the some of the more sciencey stuff, some of the why behind the program, and not like my why, but just why it works and what are the principles and so on behind it. And so that'll be the focus of that. We'll probably get some life updates in there. That's how this goes. But whew, man, I'm tired. If you're watching this and you see the picture here to my right, this was actually, I'm going to hold up the screen a little bit closer. This was a photo that was drawn, or that was redrawn. Let me hold it back a little bit further. There we go. This was a photo. And then one of our good friends, Ashley, who's newly engaged, she took this photo and then hand drew it, just looking at the photo, just drew it, colored it in, did all the shading, and it's truly magnificent. And so this was up here on the light, but I figured I'd bring it up a little bit closer so we could have that as a nice little backdrop. And it's one of my favorite things that we own, and it's so well done. So yes, this is an actual photo. Not this, but this photo exists elsewhere. Anyways, we've got that here. And so yeah, let's talk a little bit about what hybrid training is. And so I'm sure I've defined it on one of these episodes. Really, it's just a name for training in more than one modality. And so that could be swimming and running. That could be lifting and rowing. The Iron Man falls into that, not the Marvel character, obviously, but the run, the bike, the swim. The Iron Man race is hybrid training. Some people call it cross training. They do some strength training if they're marathon runners to help them out. CrossFit is totally hybrid training. I mean, you'll deadlift 300 pounds and then go to a rower and then climb up a rope. And so that definitely counts. High rocks, which we've talked about on this channel in multiple episodes, is definitely hybrid training. And what I did, the Arnold 5K pump and run, is also hybrid training since it was a lift followed by a 5K. So hybrid training is just combining multiple training modalities. And one of the reasons I feel like it's getting so much attention now, even though that is something that people have always done, like ever since people started jogging, which I guess was kind of new in the mid 1900s, like 60s, 70s, I think people started jogging. But people ran before then, but jogging didn't become a thing, obviously, until that time when they were like, hey, this might be good for you. This might help you out. And so ever since jogging's become a thing, people have been running and lifting. And some people don't like to run. Some people don't like to lift. But there's a lot of people who when they generally want to do some fitness, will do some form of cardio and some form of strength training. And that applies to a lot of people. And so I think it's important that we talk about just some of the specifics, some of the benefits, and why you should be doing more than one thing, more than just running, more than just lifting. Not to say that you can't get in shape doing one of those things, but there are benefits that you're missing out on. And we're going to talk about some of those benefits here today. And I'm going to share my screen just a little bit. And let's see if I can find my guy. Here we go. So, cool. So this is my hybrid training philosophy. Oftentimes you hear the word functional thrown in around there. It's like, what does functional mean? What does that mean? Sometimes if you're watching Instagram, it'll be an old lady who's taking her groceries from her car and then putting her groceries up into a cabinet. That is obviously functional because that is what you do in your life. And so functional training helps enhance the movements that you do throughout the day. Now, that's actually super duper broad because there's a lot of exercises you can do that, even if you think about lifting groceries overhead, okay, your shoulders are engaged a little bit, your core is braced a little bit, you might be engaging your glutes a little bit, your upper pecs might be engaged a little bit. So there's really a lot going on all in that one movement. So obviously you could think about it and say, okay, maybe I should just do some overhead presses. But, if at one point you were to strengthen your chest as well as just, something extra, even though your chest isn't really engaged that much, well, it would help that movement be easier, even if it's not the primary focus. So, sometimes you'll see people say like the bench press isn't really functional fitness because when are you ever in life just pressing something, which is true. You're usually not lying on your back pressing something unless you have kids and you're throwing them up, unless you're pushing yourself up from off the ground. So push-ups, highly functional. You also want to think about if something falls on you and you have to press it off. And then you also got to think, well, the push motion, whether it's up, over here, out to the side, is a foundational movement. You can push things, you can pull things, you can squat, you can lunge, you can hinge, you have your gait, your walk, and then the core is like rotation, anti-rotation, stability, stabilization, same thing. But anyway, so my whole point in going on that tangent is that when you hear the term functional fitness, it can really mean a lot of things. So I want you to think about functional fitness like this. Functional fitness makes you stronger, faster, increases your endurance, and overall improves your physical abilities. If you are better at doing stuff and you notice it, then your training is functional. Now, an example of something that might not be functional, say you're doing HIIT training, high intensity interval training, every single day. Will you increase your VO2 max, which is the amount of oxygen you can intake? Yes, you will. Will you build some muscle? Depends on how much protein you're eating, but yeah, you could. If you're trying to lose weight, can HIIT help you lose weight? It can. It also increases your cortisol levels, which could slow your metabolism, but without getting too much into the weeds, really, if you're trying to lose weight, just think about calories in, calories out. And if you're not losing weight, odds are you don't have a metabolic condition. Odds are you're still eating more than you think you are. And that is a tough reality for some folks who try a lot of diets and don't see any results. You're just still eating the same amount of food, even if it is healthier. You will not lose weight. Regardless, back to the HIIT thing. If you're doing HIIT every day, though, it is hard for your body to recover from that. And so you could argue that if you're doing HIIT every single day, that is not functional because your recovery is being impaired. You're not making the strength gains that you could by doing some isolated strength training. You're not building your endurance like you could by taking it easier and doing some zone 2 stuff, some lighter efforts. That's not to say you can't improve in HIIT. And so if someone's like, well, if I'm getting better, HIIT's technically functional. It's like, yeah, I guess. And that's not to say you shouldn't do HIIT. I mean, you should probably do it at least once a week, some sort of high intensity training. But HIIT every day, you could argue, is not functional because it could impair your ability to recover. You won't make the muscle gains that you should. You won't build your endurance as much as you could. And it could cause your heart rate to be slightly higher elevated, all of which is not good. So there are instances, there are ways you can train that are not functional, especially if you're doing movements that consistently injure yourself. So like maybe that's when you should take a step back and do some bar or whatever to work on your small muscle groups or do some TRX. Anyways, a little bit of a tangent there. All that to say, a functional program should make you stronger, faster, build your endurance, and improve your physical abilities, especially as it relates to your goals. And that's sort of what I think about when I'm talking about functional fitness is, am I better? Can I do the things I want to do better? And if the answer is yes, then it's functional. Pretty simple. Moving on from that, I applied that general premise to my hybrid training program, volume 1. And with that being said, because this is a sort of high volume program, it is not for everyone. And that needs to be made clear, because if you're new, now I'm not saying don't buy it. Don't buy it. You should definitely buy it. I'm not saying don't. You should. But you might want to buy it, put it on the back burner, and establish some other skills in the meantime. For example, if you're not a runner, you might want to build up to running. If you've never really lifted before, you might want to get on YouTube and figure out how to do some of these exercises. Maybe you should hire a personal trainer, someone in person, who can walk you through what the sensation is supposed to feel like, can correct your form. That's the biggest thing. You know, I make workout plans remotely, and if you're looking for one, hit me up. But there is no substitute to in-person training, for sure. That is a fact. There's this term called proprioception, right? And it is basically your awareness of your body in space. This is something that some people have naturally more so than others. It is also something that all folks can work on increasing. You can increase your overall awareness of your body in space. And form, for people who have never done any sort of lifting, can be very challenging when you have poor proprioception, because you might think you're doing what was demonstrated for you. You could even be looking at someone doing it and trying to mirror them, and it's not the same thing. Part of that comes from the fact the mind-muscle relationship hasn't been built, and you want to think about your nervous system as just the tendrils of your brain that branch out into your body, and your body is sending signals to your brain via the nervous system and vice versa. And you can enhance your perception of that relationship. And so this is just done over time through repetition. Just like anything that you're bad at, you have to do it many times and iterate and pivot, and it takes focus. That's a big part of it. And so with focus and repetition, you can basically get good at almost anything. And you can definitely enhance the relationship between your mind and your body across a wide range of movements. All the movements, really, unless you're limited by some sort of injury. And so a personal trainer, a good one, will basically increase and enhance the relationship that you have with your body So you're more aware of what things feel like when you're in certain movements or when you're holding certain positions. And so if you have poor proprioception and you're not very good at lifting, you should probably get a personal trainer for a few weeks before doing this program. If you haven't done any running before, you don't really need a personal trainer to do any running. Although it doesn't hurt to have someone watch your form when you run on the treadmill. You can do that at like a Columbus Running Co. or Fleet Feet or wherever. Or you can just get your trainer to do it and they can give you some tips. Generally speaking, you want to keep your head up, shoulders relaxed. You're not clenching your hands. They're not out here. You're smoothly pumping your arms, not across the torso, but forward and back. And you want to pick up your knees. You're not landing on your heels. You're not landing on your toes, unless you're sprinting. But sort of right around the middle of that foot. And that's really it. And if you can't do that, then walk. And if you want to build up to that, walk and then do a little bit of running and then walk. And then you run a little bit more and then walk. And over time, eventually you get to the point where, hey, I just ran a half mile. Hey, I just ran a mile. I walked a mile, ran a mile, walked a mile, ran a mile. All of a sudden you're running 2 miles at a time and then 3 miles and so on and so forth. So you want to get to the point where, you can run several miles uninterrupted before doing this program. Not to say that, that's probably just for the best. Once you have your basics of weight training down and you're able to run, then you can dust off this program that you've already purchased, blow off that digital dust, and then follow it all the way through. And it's awesome. And the primary goal of this program is to just make you a better generalist, right? So you're not an Olympian. You don't need to be just doing sprints. You don't need to just be doing pole vault. You don't need to just be doing one thing. Your goal should probably be to increase your lifespan, to increase the quality of the years that you have with said lifespan. And you do that by having high VO2 max, high muscle mass, high strength, and stability with a good diet. That is the path. So I know sometimes maybe when I'm talking, it sounds overly simple. And because I think a lot of times exercise is overly complicated and there's so many things to choose from. And so to really boil it down, again, increase your VO2 max. How much oxygen can you take in with each breath when you're exercising? Muscular strength. Muscle mass, that's going to help you process sugars. Muscle mass does so much more than just move things. High muscle mass and high muscle strength is the number one predictor of longevity. Exercise is better for you than smoking is bad for you. So odds are if you smoke and exercise, you will outlive someone who does not smoke and does not exercise. That's not a guarantee, but that is how good. There is no magic pill. There's nothing you can take that is better for you than exercise. It doesn't exist. It's better on average than your average antidepressant is, and helping with depression. Exercise, that is. That's not to say that if you are depressed, you shouldn't have an antidepressant. Not what I'm saying. But if you are depressed and not exercising, you could be looking at something that has the largest possible impact on your mental health. Get those natural endorphins. And again, that's not to say you don't need extra help, therapy, antidepressants, whatever. I'm just saying exercise is better than your average antidepressant at helping you with your depression. And you can fact check everything I've said, but you can also trust me. So anyways, once you have this program and you've dusted it off, we're going to be enhancing our overall fitness. We're going to be building strength, enhancing cardiovascular endurance, all of this to support our long-term health. And It's just there to help you become a well-rounded athlete. Now, that doesn't mean you're a professional athlete, but if you train with intention, and I say train, not just work out, but train, then you are an athlete, even if it's just a hobbyist athlete. And so I think a lot of times people don't think of themselves like they should, especially with regards to nutrition and fueling like an athlete. If you're training, you need proper fuel because you are an athlete, even if it's not professional. I am funny sometimes, even though I'm not a comedian, I'm not a professional, but I do make people laugh. So, just thinking about it that way. Also, like I was talking about, exercise is good for the mind. So I want everyone who completes this program to use their newfound athletic abilities to embrace life experiences that might have once felt out of reach. Whether this is a hike, a race, feeling more confident in your day-to-day activities, you might look more aesthetically pleasing. There's nothing wrong with enjoying that, even though that does not have to be the goal. Vanity does not have to be a part of it. But that being said, it is okay to like looking good. And ultimately, I want you to have greater freedom in your life through improved fitness. I've said this on the podcast before. I think I first said it when my guest, my good friend Sam Bloomfield, was on. The body is the vehicle by which the soul navigates the world. And I want you to be able to fill your soul up full of amazing life experiences. And you're going to be able to do more of that with a body that is more capable. It is like unlocking new levels in a video game. You can just go places that you didn't have before, just like when you upgrade in a game. Oh, I got this new skill set. Oh, I've got more health. Oh, I can now jump higher. You're able to do more. And that's what I want for everyone, right? I love going outside and exploring the world. I used to love climbing roofs back in the day. Not to say that you should go breaking and entering and go climbing roofs. I'm not advocating for that in the slightest, but that experience could be unlocked for you. Again, not advocating for it. Shouldn't do it. If you do, that's bad. But in case of emergency, you never know. Anyway, that being said, this program is a big commitment, such as life, lifestyle fit. You need about 8 hours a week. And so typically, and that kind of also kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, who this program is for. It is not for people who can only work out 3 to 4 hours a week. 8 hours a week is a commitment. That's a big commitment because you're running 5 times a week and you're lifting 3 times a week with an optional day off. And so thinking about that, working out, because there's a 2-a-day in there for sure. Working out 6 days a week, potentially 7. The 7th day would be a lighter recovery day. But all that being said, that's pretty intense. If you don't have the background in strength training and running or endurance training, then taking on an endeavor like that, while not impossible, definitely not impossible, I would just be cautious. If you don't have that sort of background, you take this on, because the goal is to not get injured, right? The goal is not to get injured. So, and a program like this requires consistency and dedication. I was able to do this program with a kid working 40 plus hours a week with a job that was both early in the morning and late at night. But this is what I do, right? I am a fitness professional. I love this shit. I'll never stop, hopefully. And so to me, the commitment is a no-brainer. And also I have some professional stake. I should be able to do certain things because I am, a fitness professional, right? I am a firm believer that you should walk the walk if you are a personal trainer, any sort of coach, that sort of thing. And so, I have some personal investment or professional investment outside of just loving this. I was doing this shit before I was a trainer, that's for sure. And I put all the bullshit I was doing in there at the time. So mindset and motivation. I'm a big meditation guy. I'm a big breathwork guy. I'm a big intention guy. And, having a certain mindset will help you thrive in this program. And so having an intention going into the program, having an intention before you go into any sort of training program is going to be critical, right? Why are you doing the thing? If the why is not sufficient enough to power the habits necessary to achieve the desired outcome, then you will not succeed. We see this in diet all the time. Some people don't even like the word diet. You can say nutritional biochemistry. Diet can be a triggering word. Diet definitionally is just the food that you eat. So everyone is technically on a diet. Anyone who eats food is on a diet, and that is the diet that they consume. We, in our culture, think about going on a diet as doing something restrictive to achieve an outcome, which is not really what a diet is. There are diets that contribute to those effects, but I think it's worth thinking about the fact that whatever you eat right now is your current diet. And so, you just shift what you're doing to achieve the outcome that you want or don't. And, you reap the consequences either way. But I don't even know what I was talking about before then. See, this is the end of the day. I've been up since 4:45. It's 8:29 at the recording of this in the evening. So I think I was using nutrition as a analogy for consistency, which is going to be key in this program. And, a lot of times, and I've said this before, I don't know if I've said it on the pod, but I'm not a big fan of motivation in general. For example, I was not motivated to do this podcast, but I am dedicated to doing this podcast. And dedication beats motivation every time, because when motivation is not there, that's when the why factor comes in. Why are you doing this? Do I actually want to accomplish what I set out to do? And if the answer is yes, it doesn't matter how you feel, you will do it anyways. That doesn't mean that if you're having a bad day or there's some tragedy in your life or whatever, I'm not advocating for you to not process your emotions. I'm just saying, if the thing is important enough, you will do it. If it is not, if you do not do it, then it is not a priority and it is not important. That's a definition, right? If you don't do the thing you said you would, it's not a priority and you don't care. Even if you say you don't actually, because then you would have done it. And that's just reality. And so, like I said, dedication beats motivation every time. I love running and I love lifting, right? Most of the time. However, there are days that I don't, and I fall back on my why. Now, if we're starting to feel sick, if we're starting to feel like, did I tweak something? Did I not? That is different, because you have to be able to weigh the action in the moment against the long-term goal. For example, if it's snowy and icy outside and you go for a run and you were going to do some sprints on the track or some mile repeats on the sidewalk, and the sidewalk is iced over, you have a dilemma, because on the one hand, maybe you don't want to be out in the cold training. And so you're like, I don't want to be out here, but I also don't want to cave to my inner bitch. So maybe I should train. On the other side, if I run on the ice, I am likely to slip and fall and hurt myself, in which case I most certainly will not accomplish my goal. And that is sort of how you got to weigh your options, right? And so if I think it's more on the side of, I really just don't want to do it because I'm tired and I don't feel like it, well, then you got to do it. But if you're feeling sick, you got a weird taste in the back, you're like, I feel pretty good, but I got that weird taste in the back of my mouth. Or, it's really icy and I can barely walk on this, or whatever. Life will give you days off. Listen to your body. But don't listen to your mind when it's being a bitch. That's some real advice for you. One of the cool things about this program is if you value variety and challenge. So a lot of time I hear people talk about, I don't like to exercise because I get bored. Well, we sort of went over this a little bit earlier, in that to acquire new skills, strength, speed, endurance, whatever, you kind of have to do things over and over again. And so if you struggle with that, that's just something you're going to have to learn to get over. And you learn to get over it by doing it. And once you see the results, it's easier to sort of rationalize it to yourself. But if you're someone who likes to work out already and likes variety and a challenge, then find the link in my link tree, dog, and get yourself a program. Now, I said I don't like the word motivation, but here we have a little section about building long-term motivation. Okay. But don't worry, we're talking about discipline here. Okay. So that's what it really all comes down to. Discipline is a huge role in long-term success. Obviously, this program included. One of the things about being disciplined is being able to be adaptive. So life's going to deal you some strange events on some random days, and you're just going to have to learn to roll with the punches. This can be challenging when maybe you don't get to do the workout that you did or that you were supposed to do. But one, it builds resilience when you're able to adapt. Two, life gives you days off, right? You don't need to stress about things that you can't control. I know it's easier said than done. That doesn't mean you're not going to have an emotional reaction when the thing you wanted to have happen can't happen due to something outside of your control. I get it. I react to things emotionally. But you kind of have to learn how to detach and take a step back. Maybe that means doing a little bit of breath work, whatever. But you just have to roll with the punches. Maybe only one side of the track isn't covered in ice, so you have to do sprints. Maybe the machine you wanted to use is taken, so you have to do push-ups, some sort of bodyweight thing, whatever. Do it like you would. So if I'm doing bench press, right? But the bench press machine or the bench press is taken, all the benches are taken. I can't do dumbbell press. Someone's on the bench press machine. Good thing is there's a floor and I can do push-ups. Well, I was doing weighted bench press, chest press, whatever. How do I know how many reps of the push-ups to do? You do them until you're close to failure, then you stop and rest. And then you do them until you're close to failure again, then you stop and rest. And for however many sets you were supposed to do it. So that's one of the cool things about being a trainer and one of the cool things that you can learn to do is, if you're adaptable, it's like, okay, well, I don't know how many reps I should do, but I do know, because I built the relationship with my body, what it feels like to fatigue that muscle group. And so I'll just do the substituted thing until I feel fatigued. And then you walk away having known you did something, which is always better than nothing. And then you start to build confidence in yourself. And then that motivation that I said doesn't matter starts to come around more consistently, because you now trust yourself. You now trust yourself to do the thing. And so one, you have faith in your dedication, but two, you start getting a little bit excited because you know, when I go, I'm going to do the things. You might not even want to do the things. You might not actually feel motivated, but you actually are a little bit, because you know you're going to get it done anyways. And then you're not so much as motivated as just stoked on the fact that you know you won't not do what you're supposed to do. And that's how you build long-term motivation over time, is you build trust in yourself, and then you can have faith that you're going to do what you want, and then you get more stoked even on the days you don't want to do it. It's like, well, I know I'm going to get it done. That doesn't mean some days you really won't want to and you're really going to hate it. I love this shit, and sometimes I hate it, but it's good. That's okay. That's part of it. That's how you build a little bit of resilience. And then, we're going to talk about dealing with setbacks and plateaus. That stuff happens. It all comes down to being adaptable. If your gym closes, your running route changes, or your equipment is available, be willing to find the next best option. If you hit a plateau, you just got to be persistent, right? Maybe you need to focus in on your sleep. Maybe you need to eat a little bit more. Maybe if you hit a plateau, you got to think about what's going on in your life. Are you running ragged? Are you tired while you're driving? That sort of thing. Maybe you do need to take that day off. I'm not anti-days off. like I said, life will give them to you. And so the key is just having faith in yourself that you'll stick with it. That's sort of the hard part for people. It's like, if I take this day off, will I fall off the wagon? And when you have the confidence due to repetition over time with just any sort of exercise program, like, nope, I know that I can listen to my body, take the day off, and still hop back into my program without missing a beat. In fact, I'll be better because I'll have rested. That's the point where you want to be in, is just having the trust in yourself to stay on the path. If you get off, 2 days turns to 3 days. It is always better to get back on than to stay off. And so, again, you might break a little bit of that trust with yourself, and it takes time to rebuild. That's okay. It happens. It does. I promise you. I've been kind of a hard ass so far while talking, because I think it's fun. I think it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy it for myself. That's the sort of self-talk that I need. But sometimes you fall off for a couple of days, and you just got to get back on. You just got to get back on. That's all. It's always hard. It's always hard. Now, because I've been mostly rambling, I don't even know how long we've been going for. Holy shit, I've been going for 36 minutes. That's crazy. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. So let's talk about benefits of strength and cardiovascular training. Wow, that's so funny. Let's talk about greater adaptability outdoors, because being outdoors is awesome. That's where life is. It's a place where you can go to de-stress. It's a place where you can go to explore. Exploring is one of the coolest things you can do. I think it's one of the most human things you can do. And the more physically fit you are, the more you're able to explore, and the more you're able to adapt as well. And so, path isn't open. You can find something else. Oh, I might have to climb up this thing. Cool, I can do it. Like, it just allows you to access so many more things. I know we talked about that a little bit, but if you're an explorer, you should definitely do this program, because then you can go and apply your new skill sets out in the wilderness, and it's awesome. We'll talk about increased efficiency. It allows you to move the needle on multiple fronts simultaneously. So like I talked about, we're trying to increase VO2 max. We're trying to increase muscle mass. We're trying to increase strength, right? If you just focused on strength, like if you're like, I'm doing a 12-week program, just focusing on strength, you will get more strength gains than if you just do this. That is for sure. If you follow a good strength training program, it will be better than just doing this. Like I said, this is for people who want to do both, who are generalists, who are non-specific. And like I said, just doing strength training is great. You will reap the benefits from it. But having a high VO2 max, having good endurance, which comes, high heart rate variability and low heart rate, that's going to come from doing this sort of stuff. So, again, no knocking on strength training. I've been doing more strength training. Like, my hybrid training has been definitely more strength focused, but so I'm not anti a little bit of specificity here and then, but here and there. But overall, if you want to be more efficient with your training, efficient with your time, move the needle on multiple fronts, this program has got it. Nice. Yeah. Lots of benefits for going outdoors. You can challenge yourself more, handle harsher conditions. I recommend, if you're a hybrid trainer, when you can, do it all outside. Do it all outside in the heat. Obviously stay hydrated. Don't be a dumbass, but outside is where real life is. AC is nice. I hate when people complain about the AC not working at a gym. Having been someone where that has happened before, it's like, hey, shut up and just do the workout. It's okay if it's hot. It's okay if you sweat a little bit more. Oh, I can't do it. It's so hot. Then leave. Like, oh God, it makes me so triggered. That is something that triggers me. It's like, and that's not to say I'm like a badass for running outside. I just think you should. But if you're bitching about the AC being broken at your gym, just like suck it up. Oh my God. Side note. Injury prevention is a benefit of training, right? And so, this is a pretty aggressive program. That being said, we talked about a phrase I mentioned earlier was something called cross training, right? So if you're a marathon runner, good to get a couple days of strength training in just to help protect your joints, right? Your joints go through a lot of pounding, and if you're not getting enough protein and if you're not strength training, your risk for injury goes up, 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 up. Okay. And just with a little bit of strength training, you can strengthen the muscles around your joints. You can fortify. They can take more impact, and it's a net positive. And so now, obviously, we need to be listening to our body when we're running and lifting for signs of injury. Again, that's going to come from trying to increase volume on either side, lifts or runs too quickly. Lack of sleep, lack of nutrition, all that can contribute to injury. So you want to follow a steady progression as opposed to anything drastic, which is why I mentioned having some running background and some lifting background before hopping in. But when you do hybrid training correctly, it's a great way to help bulletproof your body against a variety of injuries. No doubt about that. In addition to that, when you're more heart healthy, it's pretty straightforward. When you're more heart healthy, you are healthier in general. Strength training combined with cardio. Now, obviously, cardiovascular fitness, we think about, if I do cardio, I'm going to be heart healthy. But I also had mentioned the option where if you do too much HIIT and you don't get enough recovery in, you might actually have an elevated heart rate and lower heart rate variability. If you don't know what heart rate variability is, Google it. But it's just the space between heartbeats. So that's why, like, in this program, there's recovery runs that happen at a conversational pace. There's an option for that day off on Sundays. And that is there so that you actually are improving cardiovascular fitness as opposed to just redlining and going way too hard and actually damaging yourself. There's also warm-up, mobility, and flexibility work. Yeah. And so, this can be on the weightlifting side. One of the great things you can do is warm up. So a lot of times it's like, should I get on the treadmill and jog like a half mile before I work out? You can, but I'd think about whatever your primary exercise is, whatever your focus is. So if I'm going to do some squats, what I'm going to do first is I might do some hip mobility stuff. Then I'm going to do some body weight squats. And then I might do some squats with the plate. And then I'll do squats with the bar. And then I'll do some squats with light weight on it on the bar. And then at higher reps. And then I'll do some squats with more weight on the bar and decrease the reps. And then I might do a third warm-up squat at my working weight. And let's say, I'm doing 200 pounds. And I'm going to do, 4 sets of 8 to 12. I might do 2 reps at my working weight, rest, and then do my set. And so the best way to warm up for an exercise is to do lighter reps of that exercise and build the mind-muscle connection. A lot of lighter reps and then slowly increase weight. And you don't have to do that for bicep curls unless it's the first exercise you're doing. Maybe do some with some lighter dumbbells, but for your compound movements, that's a great way to do that. We were talking about rest and recovery strategies. We have sleep, hydration, proper nutrition, fundamental for muscle recovery. And then you got to be getting your protein in. Got to be getting the protein in. That is how your body repairs itself, is getting your protein in. And you're gonna need more of it than you think you do if you're running and lifting. A safe bet for everyone, females, you can get away with less, but it's easier just to go with 1 gram per pound of goal body weight. And this is not a weight loss program, so you shouldn't be trying to really lose weight while you're doing this. This can help you lose weight if you're in a deficit, but that's not why I made this. So whatever your body weight is, try and get that many grams of protein in. Females, you can probably get away with 0.8 or 0.7 to 0.8 times your body weight and then eat that many grams. But And you can honestly eat more. Dudes, you can eat more. Chicks, you can eat more than that. But go for your goal, your weight there in grams of protein. I said it before, sticking with a fitness program, not just this one, but this one especially. I was definitely mentally tougher after doing this. That's for sure. Because when you want to quit and don't, there's no bigger confidence builder. When the shit comes to your door, like the bullshit that life throws at you, I swear to God, because more bullshit has happened in 2025 to me than probably any other year of my life. And I'm not going to say it's not a problem, but because of going through my version of it for the pump and run, and then also building these things and just all the stresses of life plus my training, you actually get better. When you do hard things, you get better, and you're able to take on more of the stressors of life in stride. And that has totally been the case for me this year. That's not a brag. That is just reality. Stick with hard things, and when bullshit comes, you'll be better at dealing with it. Don't believe me? You've got nothing to lose by just giving it a shot. Okay? Just give it a shot. Yeah, how long have I been talking? Holy shit, 46 minutes. We're flying here. So before you're starting this program, I've listed a lot of the benefits. I've also just held, if you're watching this, you probably could have read all of this while I went on random tangents. Again, I apologize. It's almost 9 p.m. I've been up since 4:45 a.m. I had my normal work day. I had exercise. That's so funny. I exercised. Played with my kid. Had a meeting that no one showed up to. And now I'm doing this. It's just been a day. They're all days like this, though. But I apologize that this has kind of been more rambly than I meant it to be. But that's how we casserole. That was a New Girl reference. Anyways, before you do this program, do a fucking 5K. So that way you know how to pace yourself for these workouts. This program will tell you how to pace for them, but you need to know what your 5K time is. And that way, when you do your mile repeats, you can divide your 5K time into 3, and then those are your goal slightly faster. But your mile repeats will be slightly faster than what your average mile pace was for your 5K. This is going to be a formal race, self-timed outdoor run, a treadmill 5K, although that is the last option. But if you don't like to race, that's fine, but doing a timed outdoor run is so much better. Strength test. There's a couple ways we can do this. You can do 1 rep max tests, or you can do 5 rep max test. Either way, in the workout tracker, you can plug in either or. So in the workout tracker, if you do a 1 rep max test for squat, deadlift, bench, put that in each one, and it will auto-populate what your initial weight is when we're doing the 60 to 65% for the first 6 weeks, and then the 80 to 85% for the second 6 weeks. It'll auto-populate all of that, which is awesome, at least for the initial ones. And then going forward, you'll try and progressively overload as you go with the weight. But and then it will also do the same thing if you do 5 rep max. So the calculation is in there. So if you do whatever your 5 rep max is, it'll also automatically plug in what your weights should be. So you don't have to do that yourself. So it's important to do the strength testing so you know where you stand, so you know what weights you should use for your compound movements. Again, the squat, deadlift, bench. And all you have to do is put your 5 rep max or your 1 rep max in for each, and the first week will auto-populate for you. So we have ensured that way you can progress properly. It prevents you from training too light or too heavy, although if you have to adjust, that's fine. It's not perfect because everyone has just different genetics and body structures, and sometimes you're like, ooh, this feels light, I can do more. Sometimes you're like, ooh, this feels heavy. If you're better at one exercise than another, that could be the case. So yeah, we've got you covered. Follow the program pretty much to a T. There are ways that you can adapt. And so, I told you, like, you can take off your Sundays. And that's really it. The only change in the plan I would advocate for, however, that was the only one I would advocate for. It's just, if you need to, just take off Sundays. But like I said, if you have to do more, you have to do more. Just do listen to your body, folks. That's what I say. Follow the program, but also listen to your body. Like I said, life will give you days off. You can fill out the program on the Excel tracker, or you can which you should, especially for your weight stuff. Or at least you just plug it in and it'll spit out what you're supposed to do. Or you can use the PDF, whatever. Or you can write it down. But I give you a PDF and a tracker, so you can use either or. Obviously, there are risks to strength training. If you want to use proper warm-ups, gradual weight progression, and strict adherence to form to reduce those risks. So, just be safe, folks. Be safe. If you need a spotter, get a spotter. Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be risks and things. I also list out potential injuries that come from running. Again, I'm not saying that you're going to get injured. I did not get injured at all. And I was running in all sorts of weather, and had a poor sleep schedule. So again, I'm different from you. Someone could do this program and get injured. Someone could do this program and do better than I did. Like, it just depends. And what I mean by better is, like, have better adaptation than I did. But I list out potential injuries. That way you can reference this depending on what you're feeling. That way you can go to your doctor, go to your physical therapist, that sort of thing. And you're going to be better at problem solving like that. Make sure you can recover. Make sure you're warming up. Drink water. Eat good food. And then at the end of the whole program, there's an optional week 13 where you can test your new 1 rep max or 5 rep max. There is a 5K at the end of week 12. And again, that can be a race, that can be on the treadmill, that can be outside, and you can time yourself. But there is a 5K. You should do it. That way you know if you actually improved or not. And then the strength tests would be the week 13. And then I define everything. So, there's actually no confusion. I might have said things that were confusing today because I'm bordering on delirious and I haven't had any of my special drink. Oh, that hits. But we define everything. By we, I mean me. So if there's ever a term in here that you're confused about, if you're ever unsure about how hard you should be training, we've got it all right here. We've got the strength terms, we've got the running terms, all of it. We've got the hybrid training and recovery terms. Accessory exercises is not a hybrid term, that is a strength term. So roasted on that. We'll have to put out a 2.0 version. Active recovery, I guess you could say active recovery is both strength and cardio training terms. So that is hybrid. So we're good. Excuse me. But yeah, we define everything as it relates to hybrid training as well. If you want my specific hybrid training definition, strength and endurance in the same program. The goal isn't to be the strongest or the fastest, it's to be damn good at both. Cringe. This type of training makes you a well-rounded athlete capable of lifting heavy, running fast, and handling anything. Like a boss. Yeah, I guess there's some more injury terms in here that relate to both strength training and cardiovascular training. We got the exercise list here. And yeah, and that's it. So we don't have to go anymore because now we're in the program. Hey, there's the balls deep, boys. But so yeah, this is basically just a whole ass other episode about the Fowler-Fit Hybrid Training Program, Volume 1. I'm very passionate about what I do. Again, I apologize for being borderline incoherent on this one. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I'll listen to this and be like, actually, that was okay. Actually, that was a serviceable job. You never know. But anyways, I appreciate whoever stuck through this entire thing. We've got an awesome pod coming up next. The Balls Deep Boys make their return for the Balls Deep Pod Volume 2. Who else is coming on? Ooh, we got Lauren Ashley Photography coming on soon. Got to represent the North Carolina homies. We've got a woodworker coming on at some point. And yeah, there's actually a lot of cool guests coming on. My buddy Anthony said he would do another one. And I've got some other cool ideas down the pipeline. But yeah, in the meantime, if you want a workout program personalized for you, I got you covered. Hit me up. In the meantime, go buy this program for me. Please support. If you're thinking about it, just pull trigger on it. And we'll probably do some promos and stuff going on, which I probably shouldn't have said because you're like, I'll just wait to the promo. But who knows when that's going to be. So just suck it up and buy it now. And if a promo comes out later, just know that you are already further into your hybrid training than they are. So you're already better than them. And that's how it is. Appreciate you, folks. Hope you have a great night and or whenever you're listening to this. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. What's up, everybody? It's Jake here, Fowler and Friends. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me and all of us over here at Fowler and Friends. So if you could please like, subscribe, comment, do all of that. But definitely subscribe, share the videos with your friends, keep on supporting the channel. Thank you so much. We'll catch you on the next one. Later.